This is a Timestudio tutorial on how to work with AOIs and eye tracking data. So there are many ways to work with AOIs to get different kinds of data, and this will be just one example on how you can do some basic things using AOIs. I will start with going into my Timestudio folder and start up Timestudio. Next, I will add some subjects. I have data files from an experiment where infants viewed point light displays, and I will select a subset of all my data files, which are the 18-month-olds. Now I have 6 subjects here in my subject list, and I will read their gaze data into memory. So my first plugin will be an eye tracking plugin called eye tracking read file. And the data files are actually combined data text files exported from Clearview. Actually, it's been recorded on the old Tobii Tracker 1750. So this is one of the default settings, so I can just choose use plugin and do the selected work to read the data into memory. So the command window on MATLAB will show some information about what is being done, and I can see that I have read some gaze data into memory. Next, when I work with AOIs, I always start with clearing the AOIs. So my next plugin will be eye tracking AOI clear, just in case I had some old AOI definition stored in memory. Next, I can start with defining the AOIs and what I want to analyze from these data files that I've read into memory. Eye tracking AOI define. This plugin consists of 2 windows. This is the control window, and this is a preview window of how the AOIs are placed. But I start here and select the events that I want to look at. So these infants saw lots of things, but I will focus on these 4, the first ones, which are point light displays, where we have an upright and one inverted point light display. So in this movie, the upright version is on the left side of the screen. This one is, the upright is on the right side of the screen, left side of the screen for the upright, and right side. So I choose the 2 where I have the stimuli placed on the left side. And now the AOIs will only analyze the movies that I select here, or the events. But to say how much we want to analyze of this movie, you can set the time range, and I know that the range of these movies are 15 seconds. So I set that. If I want to have a preview of the stimuli, I can choose it here. Then I have to browse to one of the movie files. So I take this one. Now I can see my stimuli. I can set the resolution of the screen that I recorded in, and this is a timeline where I can drag using the mouse, or I can play. So the easiest possible AOI definition, which I will show here, is to set the time to 0 and start defining the AOIs. So right now I only have 1 AOI in my list, which will be my upright. I can set the position here, and my display preview window will show what my AOI will look like. So I will make it a bit bigger and move it around. I can also click on this screen, but to do that I will have to hold down the key Control on my keyboard. Now I can click it. So I will position it here, go back to the control window and make sure that it's active. If it's inactive it will be red, if it's active it will be yellow. I can also choose if I want to have a rectangle or an ellipse. So that's one AOI. Now I want to add another one to look at the inverted one, so I choose this button to add an AOI, which I can rename inverted. I will place it here. Now a small trick to see if these AOIs actually cover the interesting areas is to click somewhere on the background and press F1. That will show you the gaze data for this event, for this time range, and we can see that the two AOIs that I defined now covers, well, the main part of the gaze data, which is good. So now I am done with this. I will save this setting. Do this. And I will use it. Now I would probably like to do the same where the upright point light is displayed on the right side. So I will add another plugin where I define a new set of AOIs. And I will use my old setting and just make a slight difference. I will just rename this to inverted, and this one was upright. So now we can see that the upright AOI is placed on the right side. The stimuli is still this one, but this is just for display purposes. So this is actually the right way to do it. Timestudio will ignore this during the stimuli during processing and just look at what is here. So this is important to change. I don't want to look at these movies anymore, but rather these ones. And remember to save this as another setting. Okay. So after having defined my AOIs, I can process my gaze data and get some results out of this. So the next plugin, actually one thing that we might like to do before is to react data. And here we can select the AOIs that we want to react data from. But actually we want the whole screen here. So I will go back. I will save this setting as up in and go back to my AOI definitions and add another AOI, which is the whole screen, with the same size as the screen and positioned right in the middle. Okay. I will rerun my definitions, and remember to take the clear plugin, include that one to clear your old settings. Now I can go and reject some trials. I would like to look at the screen and reject trials if they look less than, for example, 25%. So the subjects have to look at least 25% of the time at the screen. Otherwise we'll reject that trial. We can run directly to see how many trials we rejected. And to get a feeling for your data, we have created a plugin called AOI data check. So after you rejected your trials, you perhaps want to look at your data. So I usually don't add this one in the workflow, but view it to see how much data I have and to get a feeling for why certain trials were rejected. So I have all my subjects here on the y-axis and the different trials here on the x-axis. And if I click on one of these, a new window will pop up with the gaze data for that particular trial. So I can click around to see the kind of data that I have. And if I click on one of the red, I will get some information on why this trial was rejected. So I didn't have enough looking time in the screen. Actually, if you look at the help, you can see that there are some short keys as well. So you can move around a bit more quickly than just clicking with the mouse. And using the key P, you can toggle between pupil and gaze modes. So I'll just show how to do that and press P, and I will get the pupil size and the X and Y gaze. Okay, but this looks quite okay. I'll close down this and get to the results. For this study, we are not interested in latency, but rather looking time. And that would be enough. After doing this, I will get two text windows with information on how the subjects performed, and we also get a graphical representation on the data. So I guess we are mostly interested in how much they look at the upright in comparison to the inverted. So the error bars are standard error, which means that if these ones overlap, it's not significant. There is no significant difference between the two conditions when we look at it like this, but there are some variation in here, and it would actually make more sense to look at a ratio, which we can do by adding another plugin. So the last plugin that I will add is called Eye-Tracking AOI diff scores, and this plugin will create diff scores or ratios from the data that you had in your results plugin. So now we have looking time in seconds, so that's what we will compute diff scores for. And we can look at the upright divided by the sum of the inverted and the upright to get a ratio. We save that setting and run it. Then we will get a window where we see the ratios for each subject, and we can see that this is clearly different from 50%. So we actually have a significant difference if we look at the ratios within each trial from each subject. So now I've set up the whole workflow, and we can now run it all the way. And we have some nice results that we can show to others. And that's about it for this time.